busy the room gets. So it's really nice to see all of you who I haven't already seen this morning. And thank you to Ezra. He's been great this morning. As many of you know, we're a little bit lighter on the ground in terms of our members this morning, so he's done an amazing job at still bringing us all together this morning. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Charlie. I'm a member here at Victory Hill, and I've been here for about 3.5 years, I think. I'd have to check my calendar. But there's where I am one of the few Scottish people that are here in the church. Thankfully, our number is slowly growing with a few more Scots on the ground. So keep praying for that, because as much as we love the rest of you, we want more of us too, because Scotland needs the gospel also. Okay, so here we are this morning. You know what? No, first I'm going to pray. Father, just thank you for this morning. Thank you for every person that's here, for those that are listening online. Father, just pray for open hearts and open minds, and that the words that you want to be heard are heard, and that your presence is felt. Amen. Okay. Could I have the first slide, please? Yeah. Okay. I love this picture. I send it to far too many people when I'm messaging them about various things. But it gives you a sense of the feeling that we're starting with. Okay. When I was first asked to preach today, I didn't know what the passage was. I knew that it would be in Matthew. Those of you that have been with us for a little while or have been following along with our series know that we've been in Matthew for a while. We're following the Sermon on the Mount, start to finish. Now, those that are familiar with the book of Matthew, or you read ahead, you might know that it covers a very vast array of topics. Some are lighter than others, but all have the weight and importance of God within them. Now, I'm not one of these people who's amazing and knows all my scripture off by heart. Okay, I will hold up my hand and admit that straight away. In fact, a lot of the time I can't even tell you where something is in the Bible. Like, evidenced by today by the fact that I've needed to tab it. Okay. I hate working off technology because I always lose my place. And I really should have written it in my paper notes, but I didn't, because we decided to try something new. But there we go. Bear with me. Right. I got a message from Sam. Now, Sam is one of the leadership team here at Victory Hill, if you don't know him. He's not here today, but he should be back next week, so get a chance to know him if you can. But when he asked me to do this, he sent me a message and said, "This is an amazing passage." And I thought, great, fantastic. Because the last time I had to do this, it was on murder. And that wasn't an easy day. So I opened my Bible, I looked at the passage in Matthew that he'd referred to, and my first thought was, man, do Sam and I have different definitions of what amazing means. Maybe he needs to look at the dictionary again. But actually, after sitting with it for a while, I realized that he was kind of right. It is amazing. It just took me a little bit of time to see it. Now, we can say that it's amazing just for the sole reason that it's God's word. But actually, there is more to it than that, and I hope by the end of today you will see that it is amazing too. Now, those that are well versed in your Bibles and don't need to tab it, and you know exactly where we are, you might have clued in to the fact of this picture and the fact that I was like, oh, this is not amazing, to where we're actually going to be today. I actually came across an American pastor who described this passage as the most terrifying passage for believers. And I understand why. It is a passage that can invoke a sense of fear, a sense of worry or anxiety for those who read it. Now, if this is your first time at Victory Hill, or you're not yet a Christian, or you're still exploring, I do apologize because this is a bit of a doozy for your first introduction to us. But please bear with me, because even the heavy things can be good. So let's have a look at today's passage. If you could change the slide, thank you. Okay, so today we are in Matthew 7, 21 to 23. Okay. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and do many mighty works in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. Okay. So, even from the start, not the lightest of topics. We can instantly see that this is heavy. There are some strong words here, particularly when we consider what the context of what Jesus is talking about. The main clue is when he says, on that day. What day is he talking about? The day Jesus is talking about is when you have died and you're on your way to heaven, or not, as the case may be. It is the last point before heaven, which is something to consider as we go through this. This is when you have lived your life, perhaps well, perhaps not, perhaps in the service of the Lord. But you believe in God, and you believe in the heaven and the hell of the Bible. You get there, and there's Jesus, and he says, get away from me. I don't know you. And he turns you away. There is actually a translation that uses those words, get away from me. Now, I don't know about you, but my heart hurts thinking about that. That could even be a possibility. All I can think of is the face of an angry, disappointed parent who's had enough of their child's behavior and just says those words so flatly. Now, I do need to say that this passage is a warning for the church. It is for those who believe or call themselves a Christian. It is a personal message to all of us as individuals in our own walks with Jesus. So let's look at it deeper. Next slide, please. Great. On my 16th birthday, my parents said, happy birthday, go get a job. So I did. I got my first job in the very glamorous McDonald's in the Livingston Ammonville Centre. What can I say? I couldn't resist the uniform. Now, that McDonald's, and I think still in many stores, they had a very strict policy on not accepting large bills of currency. Now, it wasn't something I ever thought much about until I had a woman raging at me that she couldn't buy her £1.99 Happy Meal with a £50 note. My manager at the time, lovely guy, had to get involved, and ultimately the woman was sent away. The same thing happened later with a gentleman trying to pay for a Big Mac meal with a £100 note. Now, some of you, particularly those who are younger, may never have actually seen a £50 or a £100 note. Well, here they are. Okay, this is your example. Now, as of 2023, the £100 notes are actually entirely out of circulation in the UK, with Scotland being the last to get rid of them. But some of you might remember them. They were quite pretty as far as currency goes. They were nice and purple, and they came in lots of different designs. So why did McDonald's not accept these? Why did it matter that you had to pay with 5 £20 notes instead of £100 note? Well, it was easy. It was an issue with counterfeiting. Banks were increasingly unhappy with the amount of counterfeit bills that were coming through businesses. And it was mostly the hundreds and fifties. So as a result, the banks were refusing to take them when businesses were dropping their money. So it made sense for businesses like McDonald's and many other stores to just not accept them at all, otherwise they'd be at a loss. Counterfeit money was, and still is, an issue. In fact, counterfeiting is rampant throughout the world. Money, jewellery, handbags, which I'm sure some of us have been tempted to by a holiday or two, trademarks, digital platforms, anything you can think of, there is some form of counterfeiting going on. And Christianity is not exempt from this. Counterfeit Christianity is just as real as the fake money and the fake handbags. And that is a big part of Jesus' warning here to us in Matthew. It looks real, it looks good, feels good, sounds good, but ultimately is lacking the one thing that makes it real. Next slide, please. If we look at the beginning of the passage, it starts with people saying to Jesus, "Lord, Lord," which on the surface, great. It's definitely the right words, with the right reverence, it's the right title, the right emphasis. But the problem is it is just that, the right words. There is nothing else to it. It is lip service without the life service. And we see this very same thing echoed in Isaiah 29:13. And the Lord said, "Because this people draw near to me with their mouths and honor me with their lips, while their hearts are far from me, and their fear of me is a commandment taught by man." Being a Christian and following Jesus is not about what you say. The words are great, but it's not about the words, it's about the heart. Where your heart posture lies, where your relationships lie, how you are living. You can know the right and best things to say. You can give as many "God bless yous," "oh, I'll pray for you," as many times as you like. You can know all the words to the latest worship song to sing along with Ezra and the worship team. You can listen to all the Forrest Frank songs you like. You can post pretty words and Bible verses on your Instagram story. But are you living unchanged? Are the words that you are using, your confession, matching your real obedience? Are you truly trying to embody God's words in your daily life? Are you truly changing and growing? Or are you just looking good and putting on the right air? You might sound spiritual. You might look spiritual. But are you living a double life? Think about the man that goes to church every week. He gets involved, he runs a group, he even gets involved in kids' church. Says all the right things, does all the right things, but behind closed doors, he's cheating his business partners and he's embezzling money. We know that in the time of Jesus, the Pharisees, they looked good, they sounded good, but they were corrupt. So are you doing the same? So let's look at the next part where Jesus highlights the various works done in his name. Did we not? Did we not prophesy? Did we not drive out demons? Did we not do mighty works in your name? The things that are listed, prophesying, demons, mighty works like healing, they're all great works. In fact, they're fantastic. They're scattered throughout the Bible. These are things that Jesus himself did. These are things that the disciples did. They are things that are still done today. There will be people that are sat here in this room that have done these things, seen these things, or strive to even do these things. So by basic definition, they are good. This is something we can be called upon to do as part of our giftings, as part of a follower of God. So if that is the case, if these things are good, if we are called upon to do these things, what could possibly be wrong with it in this context? Why would Jesus be leaving this very clear example and be taking issue with it? Simply, you can be busy for God without truly belonging to him. Next slide, please. Okay. In 1 Corinthians 13, verse 2, it says, "If I have the gift of prophecy and I can fathom all the mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing." Charles Spurgeon, very famous preacher, theologian, he famously spoke about preachers who could fill churches, move crowds, gain applause, but somehow they would ultimately end up still lost because they never truly knew Christ. Now we know from this verse in Corinthians, and we know from Spurgeon, it is possible to be doing the right things and still be lost, to not go to heaven, to not be known. If we want to look at a blatant biblical example, we can do that by looking at one of the disciples, Judas Iscariot. Judas, the betrayer of Jesus. So who was he? Well, he was arguably one of Jesus' best friends. He was one of the gang, one of the squad. He was one of the original 12 disciples who most of you are familiar with. You know his story. He was chosen specifically, and where Jesus and the others went, he went. They went through tough times together. They went through trials together. They went through life together. They ate together. They lived together. Judas did the good works. He followed Jesus, and he and the other disciples did all the things that they were tasked to do. They healed. They drove out demons. They learned, and most importantly, they brought the gospel to other people. He was able to do these things and still not go to heaven because he never truly knew or loved Jesus. It was surface level, and it led him to betraying Jesus in the end and sealing his fate. So how does this translate into 2025 here in Edinburgh? Doing the right things is not enough, or rather, it is not the basis of your salvation. If you are serving on the worship team or the tech team, amazing. Me standing here this morning talking to you, yeah, it's not bad. Being obedient in tithing and giving money to the church, sure, that's okay too. They're all things we do that we're called to do as part of serving God, our church, and our community. But none of it, not for you, not for me, is going to help on that day, at that moment that Jesus is talking about in Matthew 7. And you're probably sat there thinking, good Lord, Charlie, enough with the doom and gloom, right? Enough with telling us that we're not good enough and everything we're doing is pointless. Can't you at least give us a little bit of something lighter and hopeful? Well, the good news is I don't have to, because Jesus already did. The words aren't enough. The works aren't enough. But Jesus says very clearly, I never knew you. So what does that tell us? It tells us that and that alone is what this truly hinges on. Knowing Jesus and Jesus knowing you in return. The word knowing implies a relationship. It's personal, it's intimate, it's unique to you and you alone. But Jesus says, I never knew you. So what does he mean? Imagine this. You have a favorite celebrity. Now, I'm sure many of you do. It could be an author, an actor, a singer, footballer, anything you like. You find out where they live, and you think, that looks awesome. I'd really like to go stay there for the rest of my life. I get to be with this awesome person I like so much because they wrote my favorite book, they wrote my favorite album, or they played my favorite game. You go to their house and you knock on their door. And there they are in person in front of you. And suddenly you're full on fangirl. Oh my goodness, you are so amazing. I love you so much. I know every album that you've ever released. I know every song. I know every word. I even have the latest merch. You even know the obscure interviews and articles and everything ever written about them. You know it. What happens? If they're nice, you might get a thank you. I love my fans. But chances are, almost instantly, they're going to be calling for security or the police because you have turned up to their private residence, asking to come in and telling them all this stuff about themselves, and they have no idea who you are. You might get arrested for trespassing or even stalking, and you certainly will not be allowed back. You are a stranger to them, and it's weird. They are not going to let you back on their property or into their house, and they will likely get that restraining order. So if they don't let you into their house because they don't know you, then why should Jesus? Doing God's will begins with faith in Jesus, which in turn leads to true obedience. In John 6, Jesus tells us plainly that he is the bread, he is the life, and only through him is the way. This is not the only time that we are told that the key is to know Jesus. We're told it multiple times, and yet somehow there are many Christians out there who still don't know him truly. Saying the words and doing the works is not enough without the relationship. It's pretty clear. When you think about your own personal relationship with Jesus, can you truly sit there today and say that Jesus would say of you is, "This is my child whom I know and love"? Relationships, they take work. Whether it's a friendship, parent to child, or a marriage, you can probably ask any of the married couples in here, and I'm sure they will give you that answer. Your relationship with Jesus is no different. You can't just chat to him once and then never again. Do you walk with Jesus daily? Do you think about him? Do you pray? Do you look at your scriptures regularly? Do you surrender yourself daily? Now, no one is perfect. I'm certainly not. There are days and there are seasons where you might not do any of this. And that's okay. We're human and we're flawed. But trying to work on your relationship with Jesus is worth everything. It doesn't have to be big. If you think of a married couple who never talks to each other, they pass like ships in the night. Maybe they're on different ship patterns. They no longer will truly know each other, and their marriage isn't going to last. You don't want that to happen with Jesus. So talk to him. Even if it's just a little grumble or a thank you. Something is always better than nothing. You always need to start somewhere, and right here and right this moment is not too late. Because when it comes to that day and that moment Jesus is talking about, you will be grateful you did something. We're often taught that it is never too late, that we can always find redemption and salvation, but not on this day. There are no more days, there are no more hours, there are no more minutes. This is the final boss. There is nothing after. It is Judgment Day, and that's when it's too late. In Hebrews 9:27, it tells us that it is appointed for a man to die once, and after that it is Judgment Day. And that is when you are faced with this possibility that Jesus is highlighting here in Matthew. In Matthew 25, Jesus gives us the parable of the foolish virgins. They had lamps, but no oil. They looked prepared. They were not. They were faced with a closed door. They lacked the very thing that they needed. This passage really holds a sobering reality for a lot of Christians. That actually they've lived their life thinking that they were saved, when in reality, they're not. Don't be like them. Don't leave it until next week. Take action today. This is a heavy message. It's a hard one, and it's hard to think about. I know this. I've been sat with it for a few weeks now. But look at it another way. Look at it the Sam way. This heavy message today, me standing here warning you to look within and work on your relationship with Jesus, isn't just a warning, it's a gift. It's meant to shake you. It's meant to make you think. It's meant to make you act. The fantastic news is that today is not your judgment day. Today is just Sunday. It's another day. Like with Jesus speaking at the Sermon on the Mount, you have forewarning, just like they did, because you're hearing it now. The door for you is still there, and mercy is waiting. Jesus is waiting. Sam was right. This is an amazing passage. That we have this chance and this opportunity and this hope, and above all, that we have such an amazing God that gives it to us. If you take anything from any of what has been said today, take this. Words without the relationship and obedience are just empty. Works without the relationship are worthless. What matters most is an active living relationship with Christ. There is always hope with Jesus, and he wants to know you. He wants to talk to you. If until this day you've only had religion, come into the relationship. If you have only done works, come and let's explore some grace. And if you are wandering, come home He's waiting for you. And bear in mind these words. Lord, I don't just want to say your name or do things in your name. I want to be truly known by you. It is a very simple prayer that could start your day right. And on that note, I will hand back to Ezra.